The wind howled with murderous intent as it swept across the jagged landscape of Tarnell. Blood from Florence's forehead trickled down her blue skin, freezing almost instantly against her face. She clutched her sister's hand so tightly that her knuckles turned a deeper shade of blue, pulling the small figure behind her through knee-deep snow. Behind them, the storm consumed their footprints, erasing any evidence of their desperate flight. The medical station loomed ahead, abandoned and dark, their only hope in the merciless wasteland. "It hurts, Flo," 5-year-old Dina whimpered, her small body convulsing with shivers. "I can't feel my feet anymore." The ice crystals had formed a delicate lattice across Dina's face, beautiful and deadly. Florence wiped them away with the corner of her tattered blanket, wincing as the fabric scraped against her own frostbitten skin. Her hand trembled, not just from the cold but from fear. 3 days without proper food. 3 days since their father had locked them in with that strange, distant look in his eyes. "Just a little further," Florence whispered, though her 7-year-old frame was barely holding up against the gale force winds. "See that building? We'll be safe there." A particularly violent gust nearly knocked Dina off her feet. Florence caught her biting back a cry as pain shot through her bruised ribs, a souvenir from their father's last episode when he grabbed her too roughly while ranting about invisible enemies. The medical station's door was sealed shut, frozen in place by years of neglect. Florence slammed her shoulder against it repeatedly, each impact sending shock waves of pain through her malnourished body. On the third try, something cracked, not the door but something inside her. She ignored it. Survival first, pain later. The mantra her mother had taught her before the accident in the experimental greenhouse. "Help me push, Dina," she urged, positioning her sister's tiny hands against the metal surface. "Together. 1, 2, 3. The door gave way with a shriek of protest, sending both girls tumbling into darkness. Florence scrambled to her feet, dragging Dina inside before shoving her weight against the door to seal out the howling storm. The silence that followed was almost as frightening as the chaos outside. In the suddenly quiet space, Florence could hear her sister's rattling breath. Too shallow. Too fast. Emergency lights flickered weakly overhead, casting ghastly shadows across abandoned medical equipment. Florence guided Dina toward what appeared to be an examination table. "Climb up. Floor's too cold." Dina obeyed, her movements sluggish and uncoordinated. Dark patches had begun to form on her blue skin. The clear's throat, first signs of severe frostbite. Florence frantically searched the nearby cabinets, finding nothing but empty supply boxes and shattered glass vials. Each empty drawer increased her desperation. Their mother would have known what to do. Their mother would never have let them get to this point. "I'm so hungry." "Flo," Dina murmured, her voice fading. "Dad said he'd bring food when he came back." Florence bit her lip hard enough to draw blood, fighting back tears that would only freeze on her cheeks. "I know, Di. I know." She couldn't tell her little sister the truth, that their father might never come back, that the wild look in his eyes when he'd locked the habitat door had frightened her more than the dropping temperature or dwindling food supply that she'd heard him muttering about them coming to take the research as he'd sealed the door from the outside. Their father Jill had changed after their mother's death. The once gentle scientist had grown erratic, unpredictable. 3 days ago he had locked them in their habitat module at the research station with a promise to return with supplies. His eyes had been wild, unfocused, as he'd secured the door. Don't open it for anyone, he'd warned. Not even if they claimed to be from Colony Command. He never came back when the life support systems began to fail and the temperature plummeted. Florence had made the decision to break out. Better to die trying than freeze to death waiting for a rescue that might never come. She'd used her mother's old access card hidden in a compartment beneath her bed, a secret her mother had shared just in case Daddy has one of his bad days. Florence climbed onto the table beside her sister and pulled their shared blanket tighter around them. Body heat, their only resource now. She held Dina close, feeling the cold seeping into her own bones. Her eyelids grew heavy, the temptation to sleep nearly overwhelming. Tell me a story, Dina whispered, her eyelids drooping dangerously. No, you have to stay awake, Florence insisted, shaking her sister gently. Remember what Mom used to say about sleeping in the cold. It's a trick. The cold pretends to be your friend, makes Clear's throat, you sleepy, but if you give in, you never wake up, Dina finished, automatically forcing her eyes open. Tear escaped, freezing instantly on her cheek. I miss Mom. Florence swallowed the lump in her throat. I do too. But she taught us how to be strong. Remember, and she's watching us from the stars, like she promised. Dina's voice was small, uncertain. Florence nodded, remembering their mother's words as she'd lain in the decontamination chamber, her body failing from the experimental greenhouse accident, just like she promised. Now let's play a game instead of sleeping. I spy with my little eye. The game continued through the night, becoming increasingly desperate as Dina's responses grew slower and Florence fought her own exhaustion. By dawn, both girls had fallen into a fitful doze, still clinging to each other on the cold examination table. Florence dreamed of her mother, not the smiling, healthy woman who had taught her about plant genetics, but the pale, gasping figure who had made her promise to watch over Dina when the darkness comes for Daddy. The sound of the door opening jolted Florence awake. She positioned herself protectively in front of Dina, grabbing a sharp piece of broken equipment from the floor, a primitive weapon against whatever threat had found them. Her heart hammered in her chest. Had their father found them? Was it one of the bad people he was always muttering about? A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, tall and slender against the gray light of Tarnell sunrise. Florence raised her makeshift blade, her arm trembling with weakness, but her eyes fierce. She thought of the venomous spine wolves that sometimes prowled the research station, how they always went for the throat. If this stranger meant harm, she would do the same. Stay back, I'll hurt you if you come closer. Her voice cracked, betraying her fear. But she held the jagged shard steady. The figure raised its hand slowly. I'm not here to hurt you. The voice was female, calm but urgent. My name is Cora. I'm a field medic from Outpost 7. I picked up life signs on my scanner during patrol. Florence didn't lower her weapon. Lies had smooth edges, her mother used to say. Truth had rougher ones. Prove it. Cora slowly reached for a badge on her thermal suit, keeping her other hand visible. Medical Corps Frontier Division, I'm here to help, but you need to let me examine your sister. She's in critical condition. Florence hesitated, glancing back at Dina's still form. The younger girl's breathing had become shallow, her skin displaying alarming dark blue patches. Their mother had shown her medical readouts once, explained how bodies betrayed themselves when they began to shut down. Dina's body was betraying her now. She needs help now, Cora insisted, taking a cautious step forward. Please. Florence lowered the shard, her shoulders slumping with exhaustion and relief. She hasn't eaten in 3 days. Neither of us have. Cora moved quickly once permission was granted, unslinging a medical pack from her shoulder and approaching Dina. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, checking vital signs and applying emergency thermal wraps to the girl's extremities. Florence watched, alert for any sign of deception, but the medic's movements were confident, professional. Severe hypothermia, malnutrition, early stage frostbite, she muttered, more to herself than to Florence. She pulled out a nutrient injector and administered it to Dina, then turned to examine Florence. You're not much better off. What happened to your forehead? Hit it when we were running from the storm, Florence said, wincing as Cora cleaned the wound. The antiseptic stung, but the pain was oddly comforting, a reminder that she was still alive. And these? Cora asked, gently touching fading bruises on Florence's arms. Her tone remained neutral, but Florence caught the slight narrowing of her eyes. Florence looked away. The first rule her father had established after her mother's death: what happens at home stays at home. But her father wasn't here, and Dina needed help that Florence couldn't provide alone. Dad gets angry sometimes since Mom died. Cora's expression hardened, but her touch remained gentle as she treated Florence's injuries. Where is your father now? Don't know. He locked us in our Module 3 days ago, said he'd come back with supplies. When the heating failed, we had to leave. Cora activated her comm unit. Outpost 7. This is Cora. I've located 2 juvenile natives at the abandoned medical station in Sector 4, condition critical. Request immediate evacuation. Static crackled through the comm before a gruff voice responded. Cora, this is Commander Egbert. Storm fronts intensified. No aerial evac possible for at least 12 hours. Can you stabilize and shelter in place? Cora glanced at the girls, calculating. Affirmative, but these children need proper medical attention ASAP. Any ground transport options? Negative. The ice shelf between your position and the outpost collapsed yesterday. Wait for the storm to break. Understood. I'll establish a perimeter and continue treatment. Cora out. She turned to Florence, her expression softening. You did the right thing breaking out and seeking shelter. You saved your sister's life. Florence looked down at her hands, blue fingers trembling slightly. Mom always said, when systems fail, people have to adapt. I just did what she would have done. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. She was. Florence's voice cracked. She was developing crops that could withstand Tarnell's soil toxicity. Dad was her research partner. They were going to help feed all the outer colonies. What happened to her? Cora asked gently. preparing another nutrient injection for Florence. Florence flinched as the needle entered. Her arm, memories flooding back. Unbidden. Accident in the experimental greenhouse. One of the hybrid plants released spores. When it was stressed, the containment system failed. She swallowed hard. She was in decontamination for 6 days before her organs shut down. "I'm so sorry," Cora said, and Florence believed her. Not the empty sympathy of the colony officials who come to collect data after her mother died, but genuine compassion. After that, Dad changed. Florence continued, the words tumbling out now. Started seeing threats everywhere, said Mom's research was too valuable that people wanted to steal it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He burned all her notes the day after the funeral, said it was safer that way. Cora unpacked more supplies, creating a makeshift heating unit from emergency thermal cells. That must have been very difficult for you. He has good days sometimes, Florence defended automatically, then stopped herself. At least he used to. A soft moan from the examination table interrupted their conversation. Dina was waking up, her eyes fluttering open. "Mom," she murmured, vision unfocused. Cora gently brushed back Dina's hair. "No, sweetie. I'm Cora. I'm going to help you and your sister." Dina's gaze drifted to Florence. Recognition dawning. "Flo found help," she whispered before drifting back to sleep. "She'll be okay," Cora assured Florence, wrapping an emergency blanket around the older girl's shoulders. "The nutrient injection will help stabilize her until we can get you both to a proper facility." The warmth from the heating unit began to fill their corner of the medical station, thawing their frozen extremities. With painful intensity, Florence winced, but didn't complain. Pain clears throat meant survival. Her mother had taught her that during their wilderness training excursions, how discomfort was often the body's way of fighting back against death. A sudden sound from outside made Cora tense. She moved to the window, peering through the frost-covered glass. "Is something wrong?" Florence asked, recognizing the shift in the medic's posture. The same alertness her mother used to display when sensing danger in the field. Cora's hand moved to the utility blade at her hip. "Probably nothing, just the wind." But it wasn't nothing. Florence recognized the silhouette approaching through the swirling snow. The familiar gait, the distinctive slope of the shoulders. Her stomach clenched with a mixture of relief and dread. "It's Dad," she whispered, eyes widening with fear rather than happiness. Cora's expression hardened. "Stay here. Don't move." She moved to the door, positioning herself protectively in front of the girls. When Jill reached the entrance, his face was barely visible through his frosted mask, but his voice carried through clearly. "I know they are in there, my daughters. Hand them over." "I'm Medical Officer Cora from Outpost 7, she replied evenly. "The children are under my care now. They're suffering from exposure and malnutrition." Jill took a step forward. "You don't understand. It's not safe for them out here. There are people who want to use them to get to me, to my research. The only danger to them right now is their physical condition," Cora countered. "They need proper medical attention." "I can protect them," Jill insisted, his voice rising. "No one else can. They're coming for us all." Florence appeared behind Cora, her small hand clutching the medic's thermal suit. She couldn't help herself. Some part of her still hoped to see recognition, love, the father who used to lift her onto his shoulders to see the stars. Dad, Dina's really sick. We need help. Jill's expression softened momentarily. At the sight of his daughter, something like clarity returning to his eyes. For a brief moment Florence saw him, really. Him, not the paranoid shell he'd become. Then his gaze hardened again with suspicion. Florence, get your sister and come with me now. This woman doesn't understand what's at stake. Sir, Cora said firmly, you need help. 2. Come inside, let me examine you. You're one of them, Jill hissed. Suddenly, his mood shifting like Tarnell's treacherous weather. You won't take my daughters, you won't take my work. A memory flashed in Florence's mind, her father's smashing equipment in the laboratory, screaming about conspiracies as she hid with Dina in a supply closet. The manic energy in his eyes then matched what she saw now. He lunged forward unexpectedly, trying to force his way past Cora. She reacted instantly, blocking his advance and using his momentum to push him back. Outside, Florence locked the door, she commanded, struggling with Jill in the swirling snow. Florence hesitated for only a moment before slamming the door shut and engaging the ancient lock mechanism. Through the frosted window, she watched the two adults grappling in the storm. Jill's greater strength matched by Cora's tactical training. She pressed her hands against the cold glass, torn between the instinct to help her father and the knowledge that he was dangerous. In this state, I'm sorry, Dad, she whispered, her breath fogging the window. I'm sorry. Cora eventually broke free, sprinting around the building. Jill pursued her, disappearing from view. Minutes passed in agonizing silence as Florence kept watch over her sleeping sister, jumping at every sound outside. What if Jill overpowered Cora? What if neither of them returned? Finally, Cora reappeared at a side entrance, breathless and sporting fresh cut on her cheek. Relief flooded through Florence. We have to move, Cora said urgently, gathering her medical supplies. Your father will find another way in. Can you carry the emergency pack while I carry your sister? Florence nodded, shouldering surprisingly heavy bag without complaint. Years of helping her mother in the field had taught her to work through physical discomfort. Where are we going? The outpost. Clear's throat is too far. Cora lifted Dina, who remained unconscious, wrapped in thermal blankets. There's an old mining tunnel about 2 km east. It was used to transport ore before the colony established proper roads. If we can reach it, we might be able to follow it under the ice shelf all the way to the outpost. Florence's heart sank. Dad knows about the tunnels, she warned. He mapped them when we first arrived. He said they were unstable. Then we'll have to move fast, Cora replied grimly. The tunnels are our only option right now. Your sister needs more advanced care than I can provide here, and we can't wait for your father to return in his current state. Florence understood the unspoken implication. Jill might hurt them, even without meaning to. She'd seen his uncontrolled strength during episodes, how he seemed unaware of his actions afterward. They slipped out through the side entrance into the howling storm. Cora had Dina securely strapped to her chest, leaving her hands free to navigate the treacherous terrain. Florence followed close behind, struggling against winds that threatened to sweep her tiny frame away. Each step was a battle against the elements, against exhaustion, against the grief that threatened to overwhelm her. A memory surfaced, her mother, showing her how to walk against Tarnell's violent crosswinds. Lean into it, she'd instructed. Make the resistance work for you. Florence adjusted her stance, remembering the lesson, finding Clear's throat a rhythm that allowed her to advance despite the gale force. Winds, the journey that should have taken 30 minutes stretched into 2 hours of grueling effort. The storm intensified, visibility reduced to mere meters. Cora maintained their course using a compass built into her wrist unit, but even with this guidance, progress was painfully slow. There, Cora finally shouted over the wind, pointing to a dark recess in the side of a ridge. The tunnel entrance. They staggered, the final distance practically falling into the relative shelter of the mining tunnel. Florence collapsed against the wall, her lungs burning from the exertion and frigid air. Cora gently laid Dina down and checked her vital signs. She's stable, but her core temperature is still too low, she reported, activating another thermal cell. We need to get her warm. The tunnel stretched before them, darkened, foreboding, disappearing into impenetrable blackness. Ancient support beams creaked ominously, and patches of ice glittered on the walls. Florence ran her hand along the rough stone, remembering her father's excitement when he discovered the network of passages, a testament to human ingenuity. He'd called them back when wonders still outweighed paranoia in his mind. How far does it go? Florence asked, her voice echoing slightly. About 15 km. It'll be a long walk, but at least we're out of the storm. Cora produced 2 light sticks, cracking one to life and handing the other to Florence. Emergency rations, she said, offering a small protein bar. Eat slowly, your stomach needs to readjust. Florence took tiny bites, savoring each one as they rested, preparing for the long journey ahead. She studied Cora's face in the green glow of the light. Stick, why are you helping us? You could get in trouble. Cora's expression softened. Because it's my job, and because no child should ever be hungry or afraid. She paused, her gaze distant for a moment. I had a sister once about Dina's age. She died during a colony evacuation when I was young. The medical team couldn't reach her in time. Florence absorbed this, understanding now why Cora had risked so much for 2 strangers. I'm sorry about your sister. Cora nodded, acknowledgement passing between them. We should move soon. How are you feeling? Strong enough to continue? I'm okay, Florence assured her, though her legs still trembled from exertion. Mom always said our bodies can do more than our minds believe possible. Your mother was right, Cora said with a small smile. She sounds like someone I would have liked to know. A distant sound echoed through the tunnel, the unmistakable crunch of boots on gravel. Cora immediately extinguished her light stick, signaling Florence to do the same. In the sudden darkness, she whispered, "Your father." Probably, Florence confirmed, fear evident in her voice. He knows these tunnels better than anyone. Cora considered their options. The tunnel offered only 2 directions: forward toward the outpost or back to the entrance in the raging storm. With Dina's condition still precarious, returning to the surface wasn't viable. We continue forward, she decided, but first we need to slow him down. She moved to a section where the tunnel's ancient support structure looked particularly unstable. Using her utility blade, she began to carefully weaken one of the support beams. When he passes this point, I'll trigger a small collapse, she explained quietly. Not enough to cause a cave-in, but enough to delay him. Florence watched with wide eyes. What if it brings down the whole tunnel? It won't. I've had training in structural weaknesses. This section will hold, but it'll create a barrier he'll need time to clear. They continued deeper into the tunnel, moving as quickly as possible while maintaining silence. Cora carried Dina, whose condition had stabilized but remained concerning. Occasionally, the child would whimper in her unconscious state, haunted by dreams or pain, and each sound tore at Florence's heart. After an hour of cautious progress, they heard Jill approaching the trap Cora had set. She signaled Florence to stop, producing a small remote trigger from her pack. Cover your ears, she whispered. The controlled explosion was more vibration than sound, a dull thump that sent tremors through the rock around them. From behind came the crash of falling debris and a shout of surprise and anger. Dad, Florence gasped, instinctively starting to turn back. Cora grasped her shoulder firmly. No, Florence, he'll be okay. The collapse wasn't designed to hurt him, just slow him down, but we need to keep moving. Tears welled in Florence's eyes as she nodded, understanding but conflicted. She followed Cora deeper into the tunnel, each step taking them further from her father but closer to safety. For Dina, her mother's voice seemed to echo in her mind. Sometimes the hardest choice is the right one. They pressed on, the tunnel gradually sloping downward. The air grew warmer as they descended deeper beneath the ice shelf, a welcome relief after the surface temperatures. Florence found her strength returning slightly with the warmth in the protein bar, though exhaustion still pulled at her limbs. Cora, she said suddenly, I think Dina's waking up. They paused as the younger girl stirred in Cora's arms, her eyelids fluttering. When she opened them, confusion clouded her features. Where are we? Where's Dad? We're going somewhere safe, Florence assured her. Cora's helping us. Dina's gaze shifted to the medic holding her. My hands hurt. Cora carefully examined Dina's fingers, relieved to see blood flowing back into the previously frostbitten extremities. That's actually a good sign. It means they're warming up. A distant crash echoed through the tunnel, far too close for comfort. He's getting through faster than I expected, Cora muttered, concern evident in her voice. Can you walk, Dina? We need to move quickly. The little girl nodded bravely, though her legs trembled when Cora set her down. Florence immediately took her sister's hand, supporting her, just like when we play explorer, Florence encouraged. Remember, one foot, then the other. Dina took a shaky step, then another, like when we followed Mom to the ridge to watch the meteor shower. The memory hit Florence like a physical blow, their mother pointing out constellations, explaining how each star system might contain worlds like and unlike their own, how the universe was vast but connected, how small actions could create ripples across galaxies. It had been their last family outing before the accident. Exactly like that, she managed keeping her voice steady. You were so brave then, too. They resumed their journey at an agonizing pace, Dina's small legs unable to match their earlier speed. Cora constantly checked behind them, her expression growing more worried with each passing minute. The sound of pursuit grew steadily closer, echoing confusingly in the winding tunnel. Sometimes it seemed to come from ahead, sometimes from behind. The tunnel network splits in several places, Florence explained, noticing Cora's confusion. Sound travels strangely here, Dad used to say it was like the tunnels were alive, playing tricks on intruders. This information gave Cora an idea. At the next junction, she paused, considering the branching paths. Which way leads to the outpost? She asked. Florence pointed to the right tunnel. That one, the left, goes to the old processing facility. It's abandoned now. Cora nodded, formulating a plan. I'm going to create a diversion. You girls take the right path and continue toward the outpost. I'll join you shortly. Florence's eyes widened in alarm. You're leaving us? Just for a few minutes, Cora promised. I need to make your father think we went the other way. The outpost should be about 5 km from this junction. Just keep following the main tunnel. Before Florence could protest further, a shout echoed through the passage, much closer than expected. Jill's voice, calling her name with a mixture of anger and desperation that made her blood run cold. Go now, Cora urged, giving them a gentle push toward the right tunnel. I'll catch up. Florence hesitated only a moment before pulling Dina along the correct path. They disappeared around a bend just as Cora set off down the left passage, deliberately making noise to attract attention. Why is Daddy so angry? Dina asked as they hurried along, her small face twisted with confusion and fear. Florence searched for the right words, ones that would explain without terrifying her sister further. Dad's sick, Dina. Not sick like when you get a cold, but sick in his mind. He doesn't always know what he's doing, like when he broke all the pictures of Mom. True. Dina's perception surprised Florence, as it often did. Yes, exactly like that, but the doctors at the outpost will help him, and they'll help us too. Dina nodded, accepting this with a child's simple trust. They continued in silence for several minutes, the tunnel growing wider and better maintained as they approached colonial territory. I'm tired, Flo, Dina finally said, her steps slowing. Florence considered their options. Cora had said to keep going, but Dina was reaching her limit. She spotted a small alcove in the tunnel wall, possibly in old maintenance bay. Let's rest for just a minute, she decided, guiding her sister into the recess. They sat huddled together. Florence, keeping watch on the tunnel. Tell me about the gardens on Earth, Dina requested, her voice small but eager. It was their favorite story, one their mother had told them countless times. Florence smiled, grateful for the distraction. Earth has gardens so big you can't see. From one end to the other, plants grow in every color imaginable, not just the blues and whites we have on Tarnell, but greens and reds and purples and flowers that smell sweet instead of bitter. And we'll go there someday. Someday, Florence agreed, though she had no idea if such a promise could be kept. Mom's sister lives there, remember, Aunt Amanda. Mom said she has gardens of her own. Dina's eyes grew heavy. I'd like to see. A sound from the tunnel interrupted her. Not the heavy footsteps of their father, but a lighter, quicker gait. Florence pushed Dina behind her protectively, grabbing a loose piece of metal piping. From the ground, Florence, Dina. Cora's voice called softly, "It's me." The girls sagged with relief as Cora appeared slightly breathless but unharmed. "Did it work?" Florence asked. Cora nodded. "He followed me for a while. But he's smart, he'll figure it out. Soon, we need to keep moving." She knelt to examine Dina, frowning at the child's exhaustion. "I'll carry you the rest of the way," she decided, lifting the little girl onto her back. "Hold tight, okay?" Dina wrapped her arms around Cora's neck, too tired to protest. They continued with renewed urgency, the tunnel beginning to slope upward, bringing with it the promise of the outpost ahead. A faint light appeared in the distance, not daylight but the glow of artificial illumination. "That's the outpost access point," Cora explained, her pace quickening. "Once we're there, you'll be safe." As they approached the light, a new sound reached them, multiple voices and the heavy tread of boots. Florence tensed, preparing for a new threat, but Cora's face broke into a relieved smile. "That's a search party," she said. "Outpost personnel." She activated her comm unit. "This is Medical Officer Cora. I'm approaching the tunnel access point with 2 civilians requiring medical assistance. Request immediate support." The response was immediate. "Copy that. Cora, we've got a team waiting for you." Team waiting for them. They emerged into a well-lit section of tunnel to find 4 uniformed personnel, heavily armed but with weapons lowered. A tall, broad-shouldered man with a close-cropped beard stepped forward, his commander insignia gleaming. "Egbert." Cora acknowledged with a nod. "Glad to see you ignored your own orders." The commander's stern expression softened slightly. "When communications went dead, you'd try something stupid like using the tunnels. These the kids." Cora nodded, allowing a medic to take Dina from her arms. "Florence and Dina. Their father is in pursuit. He's unstable, possibly dangerous." Egbert gestured to his team. "Secure the tunnel. Non-lethal protocols only." 2 of the officers moved deeper into the tunnel, weapons ready. Egbert knelt to Florence's level, his imposing figure somehow less intimidating as he addressed her directly. "You've been very brave. We'll get you both to the medical center now." Florence looked back toward the dark tunnel. "Our dad, he needs help too. He wasn't always like this." Egbert exchanged a glance with Cora before responding. "We'll do what we can for him." As if summoned by their conversation, a figure emerged from the shadows of the tunnel. Jill, his face contorted with desperation and rage, he held a mining pick in one hand, its point gleaming dangerously in the artificial light. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, likely from the tunnel collapse, and his eyes were wild, unfocused. "Get away from my daughter," he snarled, advancing toward the group. Egbert's team raised their weapons, but he signaled them to hold. "Sir, put down the weapon. Your children need medical attention. We're here to help all of you." "Lies," Jill spat. "You want her research, that's all anyone wants. Well, you can't have it, and you can't have my girls." Florence stepped forward impulsively. "Dad, please let them help you. Mom would want you to get help." The mention of his wife seemed to break through for a moment. Jill's expression faltered, confusion, replacing rage. Jasmine. Mom is gone, Florence said gently. Remember. But she'd want us to be safe. She'd want you to be well again. Something shifted in Jill's eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or a moment of clarity, but it was fleeting. The paranoia returned, stronger than before. They got to you, he whispered. Betrayal etched in his features. They turned you against me. He lunged forward suddenly, swinging the pick with surprising speed. Egbert dodged, drawing his own weapon, a stun baton that crackled with electrical energy. Get the children out of here, he ordered without taking his eyes off Jill. Cora hurried Florence toward the exit, where Dina was already being attended to by the medical team. Behind them, the sounds of struggle echoed through the tunnel. Dad, Florence cried, trying to look back, but Cora kept her moving forward. Commander Egbert will help him, she assured the girl. The best thing you can do for your father now is to get safe and healthy. The confrontation behind them intensified. Florence heard her father's voice, now pleading rather than threatening. My girls, please. They're all I have left of her. Then came the distinctive sound of a stun weapon discharging, a cry of pain. Silence. Florence stopped, refusing to move further despite Cora's gentle pressure. I need to know if he's okay. Cora hesitated, then nodded. Stay here. She jogged back toward the tunnel entrance, disappearing from view. Florence waited, counting her heartbeats, fighting the urge to follow. When Cora returned, her expression was carefully composed. Your father is unconscious but stable. Commander Egbert had to use his stun baton, but the medical team is looking after him now. He didn't want to hurt us, Florence said quietly. Not really. He just doesn't know what's real anymore. Cora placed a hand on her shoulder. I know mental illness is complicated, Florence. Your father loves you very much, but right now he can't take care of you. He needs help himself. Florence nodded, allowing Cora to guide her the rest of the way. The medical center at Outpost 7 was small but well equipped. Florence and Dina were examined thoroughly, treated for their injuries, and given proper nutrition. Hours passed as they rested under the watchful eye of the outpost chief physician. Cora Clear's throat appeared in the doorway of their recovery room, her own injuries now treated, a fresh uniform replacing her weather-worn gear. How are they? She asked the attending nurse. Remarkably resilient, the nurse replied with admiration. The younger one will need dermal regeneration for her frostbite, but they should make a full physical recovery, and their father. The nurse lowered her voice, but Florence could still hear, sedated. Dr. Barrett is conducting a full psychological evaluation, but initial assessment suggests severe paranoid delusions, possibly triggered by trauma. The commander wants him transferred to a specialized facility once he's stable for transport. Florence sat up in her bed. What about our dad? Is he okay? Cora approached, sitting on the edge of the bed. He's being treated too. Commander Egbert had to subdue him, but he wasn't seriously injured. Can we see him? Cora hesitated. Not yet. Florence, your father is not well. The doctors are helping him, but it will take time. Dina stirred in the next bed, her small voice hopeful. But he'll get better, right? Like Mom said he would. The question hung in the air, waited. with childish optimism that neither adult wanted to shatter. Cora chose her words carefully. The doctors will do everything they can. Right now, we need to focus on getting you both healthy and deciding what comes next. Florence's perceptive gaze met Cora's. We can't go back to him, can we? That's not my decision to make, Cora admitted, but no, I think that would be safe right now. Tears welled in Florence's eyes, but she blinked them away with determination beyond her years. I think I've known for a long time that something was wrong with him ever since Mom died. Dawson him, she remembered the first time she'd noticed the change, how her father had spent 3 days in his laboratory without sleeping after the funeral, emerging with bloodshot eyes and wild theories about corporate sabotage, how he'd gradually withdrawn from their colony neighbors, installing extra security systems, keeping the girls inside for their protection, how his gentle scientific curiosity had twisted into obsession and suspicion. Commander Egbert appeared in the doorway, his presence filling the small room. Despite his intimidating stature, his voice was gentle as he addressed the girls. Your father will be transferred to a specialized facility on the main colony world. He needs help that we can't provide here on Tarnell. What about us? Sorrowful Florence asked, instinctively pulling Dina closer. We don't have anyone else. Egbert exchanged a glance with Cora before continuing, actually that's not entirely true. We've been searching colony records. Since you arrived, your mother listed an emergency contact in her personnel file. Her sister on Earth. We've managed to establish communication with her. Hope flickered in Florence's expression. We have an aunt, Amanda Morgan, Egbert confirmed, your mother's younger sister. She's a botanist too, continuing your mother's work on Earth. She was very emotional when we told her about you. She didn't know about us, Florence asked, confused. Communications with Tarnell have been spotty since the magnetic storm started 3 years ago, Egbert explained. Many personal messages never made it through. From what we can gather, your mother's last correspondence with her sister was before your father's condition deteriorated. She's already making arrangements to come for you, Cora added. Until she arrives, you'll stay here at the outpost under my supervision, if that's acceptable to you both. For the first time since they'd been found, Dina smiled like Mom. Very much like your mother from what I understand, Egbert said. Until she arrives, you'll stay here at the outpost under Cora's supervision, if that's acceptable to you all. Cora looked surprised but nodded immediately, of course. Later that night, when Dina had fallen asleep, Florence lay awake, processing everything that had happened. The room was warm, almost uncomfortably so after years of adaptation to Tarnell's frigid climate. The unfamiliar feeling of safety was equally disconcerting. A soft knock at the door preceded Cora's entrance. She carried a small holopad, her expression solemn. You should be sleeping, she said gently, but I thought you might want to see something. She sat on the edge of Florence's bed and activated the holopad. An image appeared. A woman with the same blue skin as Florence and Dina, her features strikingly similar to their mother's. Her hair was lighter, her face more angular, but the resemblance was unmistakable. That's your Aunt Amanda, Cora explained. She recorded this message. For you when we made contact. Florence touched the screen tentatively. She looks so much like Mom, Cora nodded. Would you like to hear her message? At Florence's nod, she activated the recording. Amanda's voice filled the small room, warm and emotional. Florence, Dina. I can hardly believe I'm speaking to you. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what was happening. The last message I received from Jasmine was over 2 years ago, and she mentioned nothing about difficulties. Her voice broke. I'm coming for you. As soon as I can arrange transport, I'm coming to bring you home. Your mother was everything to me, and now you are too. Please know that you are not alone. You never were. The message ended, leaving Florence with tears streaming down her face. Cora gently wiped them away. She seems sincere, Florence whispered. I believe she is, Cora agreed. Commander Egbert is more skeptical, but that's his nature. He's having her credentials verified, of course, but preliminary checks confirm her identity. When will she arrive? It will take time. Interstellar travel isn't quick, but she's already en route to the nearest space hub, perhaps 3 to 4 weeks. Florence nodded, processing this. Can we see Dad before we go? Cora hesitated. I'll speak with the doctors. If they believe it would be beneficial rather than harmful, we'll arrange a supervised visit. Thank you, Florence said, lying back on her pillow for everything. Cora squeezed her hand gently. Try to rest now. You're safe. As she left, Florence turned toward her sleeping sister. Dina's face was peaceful for the first time in months. The worry lines that had no place on a 5-year-old's features temporarily smoothed away. Florence reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her sister's face. We're going to be okay, she whispered, just like Mom promised. The following weeks brought remarkable changes. Under proper care, the girls recovered their physical strength. Quickly, the dark patches on their skin faded, and the haunted look in their eyes gradually diminished, though it never completely disappeared. Cora took her role as temporary guardian seriously, converting a storage room adjacent to her quarters into a bedroom for the girls. She taught them about the outpost operations, let them help with simple medical tasks, and even arranged for them to assist in the hydroponic gardens, a connection to their mothers. Work that brought them visible comfort. 10 days after their rescue, the doctors finally approved a supervised visit with their father. Jill had been moved from the medical facility to a secure residential unit where his condition could be monitored, while arrangements were made for his transfer. He's been medicated, Corey explained gently as they approached his quarters. He'll seem calmer than you're used to. Maybe a little drowsy, but the doctors believe he's lucid enough for a short visit. Florence nodded, holding Dina's hand tightly. What should we say to him? Whatever feels right, Corey advised. Just be yourselves. The room was simple but comfortable, with soft lighting and minimal furnishings. Jill sat in an armchair by the window, gazing out at the stark Tarnell landscape. He turned when they entered, and Florence's breath caught in her throat. He looked so different, thinner, older. His eyes clear but sad. Gone was the manic energy, the suspicious glances, the barely contained rage. In its place was something almost worse: awareness, recognition of what had been lost. My girls, he said softly, his voice breaking. My beautiful girls. Dina broke free from Florence's grip, running to him without hesitation. Daddy, he gathered her into his arms, holding her close, tears streaming down his face. Florence hung back uncertain. Jill, Clear's throat looked up at her, his expression devastated by her reluctance. Florence, he said, extending his free hand, I'm so sorry. She approached slowly, allowing him to take her hand. Are you feeling better? He nodded, squeezing her fingers gently. The medicine helps. I can think clearly now. His voice dropped to a whisper. I remember what I did, how I failed you. Both. You were sick, Florence said, the words feeling inadequate. Yes, but that's no excuse. I should have sought help sooner, should have recognized what was happening. He kissed the top of Dina's head, his eyes never leaving Florence's face. Your mother would be so disappointed in me. No, Florence insisted. She would want you to get better, that's all. Jill smiled sadly. You sound just like her. Always seeing the best in people, even when they don't deserve it. He gestured to the chair beside him. Will you sit with me for a while? I don't know when I'll see you again. Florence perched on the edge of the chair, still maintaining a careful distance. They told you about Amanda, he nodded. She's a good person. Jasmine adored her. She'll take care of you both while I get the help I need. His voice broke. Again, I want you to know that I love you. Both of you. The things I did, the things I said when I was unwell. That wasn't me, or at least not all of me. I know, Dad, Florence said quietly. I remember who you were before. Jill's composure crumbled entirely at that, and he wept openly, still holding Dina close. Florence reached out hesitantly, then placed her hand on his shoulder. The simple gesture seemed to bring him both pain and comfort. The visit lasted 30 minutes, during which Jill asked about their rescue, their health, and their time at the outpost. He listened intently to Dina's excited descriptions of the hydroponic gardens, smiling through his tears. When the time came to leave, he hugged them both, holding on as if he might never let go. I'll get better, he promised. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, and someday when the doctors say it's okay, I'll come find you. Florence believed him, or wanted to. She saw in his eyes the father she remembered, the man who had taught her to identify constellations, who had carried her on his shoulders through fields of ice flowers, who had laughed with pure joy when Dina said her first words. As they left the room, Dina looked back. Bye, Daddy, get better soon. Jill pressed his hand to the window, watching them go. I will, my little star. I promise. In the corridor, Cora waited, her expression questioning. Okay. Florence nodded, feeling both lighter and heavier. Okay. The remainder of their time on Tarnell passed in a blur of preparation. Arrangements were made for their transport. Their meager possessions were packed, and Cora helped them prepare for the journey to Earth, a planet neither of them had ever seen. Is it really as colorful as Mom said? Dina asked one evening as Cora showed them images on her holopad. Even more so, Cora assured her, these images don't capture the true vibrancy. The first time I visited Earth, I had to wear tinted glasses because my eyes couldn't adjust to all the greens and blues and reds. Will we need special glasses? Florence asked practically. No, you'll adapt quickly. Your mother's Genetic modifications would have been passed to you both. Enhancements to help humans thrive on frontier worlds like Tarnell, but designed to maintain adaptability to Earth conditions. Is that why we're blue? Dina asked, examining her azure-tinted skin with renewed interest. Cora smiled partly. The blue pigmentation helps with ultraviolet radiation protection and improves oxygen absorption in thin atmospheres. On Earth, it will gradually fade to a lighter blue, almost turquoise. I like being blue, Dina declared. You'll still be blue, Cora assured her. Just a different shade. 23 days after their rescue, a message arrived from the Interplanetary Transit Hub. Amanda Morgan had arrived and would reach Tarnell within 48 hours. The news sent the girls into a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, anxiety, and a strange sense of loss. Their time with Cora was coming to an end. What if she doesn't like us? Dina worried as they prepared for bed. That night, Florence, who had been folding their newly issued clothing, paused. She's Mom's sister. She'll like us, but what if we don't like her? It was a question Florence had considered herself. Then we'll learn to, I guess. Just like we learned to like the protein supplements here. She made a face and Dina giggled. Well, Cora, come with us, Dina asked, her smile fading. Florence glanced toward the doorway, where Cora had paused, clearly having overheard. Their temporary guardian entered the room, sitting on the edge of Dina's bed. Actually, she said, I've been meaning to talk to you both about that. Commander Egbert has approved my request for extended leave. If you're comfortable with it, I'll be accompanying you to Earth and staying for a short while to help with the transition. Relief flooded Florence's face. You're coming with us? Cora nodded. Earth's atmosphere and gravity will be an adjustment for you both. And while I believe your aunt has only the best intentions, Commander Egbert feels it would be prudent to have someone familiar present during the initial period, because he still doesn't trust her. Florence stated matter-of-factly. Cora's lips twitched. Your perceptiveness continues to impress me. Yes, the commander is cautious by nature, but this arrangement benefits everyone. Your aunt gets support during a challenging time. You have a familiar face during the transition, and I get to visit Earth, which I haven't done in years. And Commander Egbert gets his spy. Florence added, not accusingly but with understanding. I prefer to think of it as having an advocate for your best interests, Cora corrected gently, but yes, I will be reporting back to him. The transport shuttle arrived on schedule, landing at the outpost's small docking bay in a flurry of ice particles. Florence and Dina waited in the observation room, watching as the airlock cycled and the passenger ramp extended. A single figure emerged, tall and slender, dressed in the practical thermal gear required for Tarnell surface. Even with her features obscured by a protective mask, the resemblance to their mother was striking in her posture, her movements. That's her, Florence whispered to Dina. That's Aunt Amanda. The outer airlock sealed, allowing the inner doors to open. Amanda removed her mask, revealing a face so similar to their mother's that Dina gasped. Woman's eyes scanned the room anxiously until they landed on the girls. Something in her expression crumpled, a mixture of grief and joy so intense it was almost painful to witness. Florence, Dina, her voice trembled slightly. I'm your Aunt Amanda, the girls stared. In shock, neither moving until Dina suddenly broke free and ran toward the woman, throwing her arms around her waist. After a moment's hesitation, Florence followed, more reserved but equally desperate for the connection. Amanda knelt, embracing them both, tears streaming freely down her face. I'm so sorry I didn't know. I'm so sorry you were alone. We weren't alone at the end, Florence said, glancing at Cora with gratitude. We had help. Amanda looked up. Noticing Cora for the first time, she rose, keeping one arm around each girl. You must be medical officer Cora. I can't thank you enough for what you did. For my nieces. Cora extended her hand. I was just doing my job. No, Amanda said firmly, taking Cora's hand in both of hers. What you did went far beyond duty. You risked your life for children you didn't. No, that's extraordinary. Cora seemed uncomfortable with the praise but accepted it with a nod. Girls are special. Anyone would have done the same. Not anyone, Amanda countered, her expression darkening briefly. Their father didn't. Florence tensed. Dad is sick. He's getting help now, Amanda immediately softened her tone. Of course. I'm sorry, Florence, you're absolutely right. She knelt again, bringing herself to the girls' level. I want you both to know that I understand how complicated this situation is. Your father was a good man who became ill. That doesn't erase who he was before or the love he has for you. The sincerity in her voice eased something in Florence's chest. This woman, this virtual stranger with her mother's face, understood. Maybe she really could be family. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks, during which the girls gradually opened up to their aunt, discovering similarities between her and the mother they remembered. Amanda shared stories of their mothers' childhood, filling in pieces of family history they'd never known. Your mother was always the brave one, she told them as they sat in the ship's observation lounge, watching stars streak past. When we were children, she was the first to climb the tallest trees, the first to swim in the deepest parts of the lake. She had this fearlessness that I always envied. But you followed her, Florence said, recognizing the pattern from her own relationship with Dina. Amanda smiled. Always just a few steps behind, heart pounding with terror but unwilling to let her go alone. That's how I feel about Dina, Florence admitted. Sometimes she rushes into things without thinking, and I have to follow to make sure she's okay. Being a big sister is a heavy responsibility, Amanda said softly. One your mother understood well. She always looked out for me, just as you look out for Dina. Cora observed these interactions, carefully alert for any sign of deception or hidden agenda, as Egbert had implied but found only genuine affection and concern. If Amanda Morgan had ulterior motives regarding her sister's research, she hid them masterfully behind what appeared to be sincere love for her newly discovered nieces. You've been watching me, Amanda said quietly one evening as the girls slept in their bunks. I understand why, and I respect it. Those children have been through enough betrayal. Cora didn't deny the observation. Commander Egbert can be paranoid, but he's rarely wrong about people. Amanda nodded thoughtfully. The research my sister was conducting is valuable, yes, revolutionary even. But Jasmine was my sister before she was a scientist. Those girls are all I have left of her. She met Cora's gaze directly. I would burn every note, every sample, every discovery she ever made if it meant keeping them safe. Something in her eyes convinced Cora. More than any words could have, she nodded, a silent acknowledgement of trust earned. As they approached Earth, the girls spent hours in the observation deck, watching as the blue-green planet grew larger with each passing day. For children who had known only the harsh white landscapes of Tarnell, the vibrant colors were almost overwhelming. It looks like the pictures in Mom's books, Dina whispered in awe, but more real. Amanda joined them, pointing out continents and oceans. That's where we'll be living, she said, indicating a region in the northern hemisphere, the International Botanical Research Center. It's where I work and where your mother worked before she joined the Tarnell expedition. Will we have our own rooms? Dina asked. Practical as always. Amanda laughed. Yes, absolutely, I have a house on the research grounds. It's nothing fancy, but there's plenty of space for both of you and windows that look out onto the experimental gardens. Windows without thermal shields? Florence asked, trying to imagine such a thing. Without thermal shields, Amanda confirmed. You'll be able to open and feel the breeze. The concept was so foreign that both girls fell silent, trying to process a world where the outside air wasn't immediately lethal. The shuttle landed in a designated area near Amanda's research facility. As the hatch opened, warm, humid air flooded in, so different from Tarnell's dry cold that Dina gasped in shock. It's like the greenhouse flow, she exclaimed. Remember how Mom's greenhouse felt? Florence nodded, breathing deeply of the oxygen-rich air. It smells alive. They stepped onto Earth's surface together, Florence, Dina, Amanda, and Cora, into a world bursting with life and color. Research center staff had gathered to welcome them, faces curious but respectful of the children's overwhelming experience. Amanda's home was adjacent to the botanical center, a modest dwelling surrounded by experimental garden plots. Inside, she had prepared rooms for each of the girls, decorated with items salvaged from their mother's personal effects that had been shipped back after her death. I know it's not the same as your home on Tarnell, she said hesitantly, but I hope in time you might come to think of it as home. Dina was already exploring excitedly, but Florence stood in the center of the main room, taking it all in with her characteristic thoughtfulness. It feels like Mom, she said finally. Not the same, but connected. Amanda's eyes glistened with unshed tears. That's the highest compliment you could give me. The days that followed established a new routine. The girls began attending classes with other children of the research staff, adjusting to Earth's gravity and climate. Cora remained as promised, helping with the transition, though her role became less necessary as the girls settled into their new life. 1 month after their arrival, she found Florence sitting alone on a bench overlooking one of the experimental gardens, her expression pensive. Heavy thoughts? Cora asked, joining her. Florence nodded. I was thinking about how much has changed. 2 months ago, Dina and I were freezing in that medical station, thinking we were going to die. And now she's helping Aunt Amanda pollinate some new hybrid fruit tree and arguing about which color to paint her room. A small smile crossed Florence's face. She's going to be okay, isn't she? Cora followed Florence's gaze to where Dina could be seen through the greenhouse glass, carefully using a small brush to transfer pollen between flowers while Amanda supervised. Children are incredibly resilient. Cora said, both of you are. But that doesn't mean what happened didn't leave scars. I still have nightmares. Florence admitted, about the cold. About Dad finding us, that's normal. With time they'll fade. Florence turned to look directly at Cora. You're leaving soon, aren't you? There was no accusation in her voice. Just a calm acceptance that surprised Cora, despite her familiarity with the girl's maturity. Yes, my leave is almost up and the outpost needs medical personnel. She hesitated, but I could request an extension if you need me to stay longer. Florence shook her head. We'll be okay. And Amanda is good to us, and I think she really does love us. She paused. And other children might need you like we did. Cora felt unexpected emotion tightening her throat. You're an extraordinary person, Florence. You always have been. I did what I had to do, the girl replied simply, for Dina. And that's what makes you extraordinary. The night before Cora's scheduled departure, Amanda arranged a small gathering in their garden. She had invited several colleagues from the research center, creating a warm atmosphere of celebration rather than farewell. Dina flitted between guests proudly, showing off her newly acquired knowledge of earth plants while Florence helped serve refreshments, her natural reserve gradually giving way to careful social interaction. As the evening progressed, Cora found herself increasingly emotional. She had not expected to form such a deep attachment to these children in such a short time. Watching them now beginning to thrive in their new environment filled her with both pride and a sense of loss. Amanda approached, offering a glass of something that sparkled in the garden lights. You've been quiet tonight. Cora accepted the drink with a small smile, just observing. They're adapting remarkably well. Thanks in large part to you, Amanda said. You gave them stability when they needed it most. She paused, glancing toward Florence, who was engaged in serious conversation with a senior researcher, especially that one. She trusts you in a way she doesn't trust me yet. Give her time, Cora advised. Florence carries more responsibility than any child should have to bear. She spent so long being the protector that she's forgotten how to be protected. Amanda nodded thoughtfully. I see it in how she watches Dina, how she positions herself in any room to maintain sight lines to her sister. It breaks my heart. It should ease with time as she learns that she's safe here, that you're reliable. I hope so. Amanda's expression grew serious. I want you to know that you'll always be welcome here, Cora. The girls need continuity, connection to their past, and I suspect you might want to check on them occasionally yourself. Cora smiled, acknowledging the truth in this. I might find myself in Earth's vicinity from time to time. Good, Amanda said simply. We'll keep your room ready. Later, as the party wound down, Cora found herself alone with the girls. The garden. The night was warm, filled with sounds entirely foreign to Tarnell. Insects chirping, leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. I have something for each of you, she said, producing 2 small packages, just a small going away present. Dina tore into hers immediately, revealing a small handheld device. What is it? She asked, turning it over. Curiously, it's a bioscanner, Cora explained. A simple one, designed for botanical field work. I thought you might enjoy analyzing the plants in your aunt's garden. Dina's face lit up, like Mom's scanner. Can I try it now? Tomorrow, Cora laughed. It's too dark. Now. Florence opened her package more carefully, revealing a slender metal object, a real compass, she breathed, recognizing it immediately. Not just any compass, Cora said. This one is calibrated to show both Earth's magnetic north and, when you press this button, the direction of Tarnell. No matter where you go on Earth, you'll always know where you came from. Florence traced the etched surface with her finger, finding an inscription. The strongest hearts are forged in the coldest places. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I'll keep it forever. The day of Cora's departure arrived with mixed emotions. Amanda had arranged a small gathering to thank her for her service to the family, presenting her with a specially cultivated plant developed from Jasmine's original research. It can survive in almost any environment, Amanda explained, much like you. As the transport prepared for departure, final goodbyes were exchanged. Dina hugged Cora fiercely, extracting a promise to send messages regularly. When it was Florence's turn, the girl seemed to struggle with what to say. Thank you, she finally whispered, for finding us, for believing us, for everything. Cora knelt to her level. You found me, Florence. Your courage brought you through that storm to where I could find you. Never forget that. The transport rose into Earth's blue sky, carrying Cora back to the stars and the frontier that needed her. On the ground below, two small figures waved until the ship was just a speck in the atmosphere. Florence took Dina's hand as they turned back toward their new home. Above them, Earth's warm sun cast no ice crystals in the air. No biting wind threatened to steal their breath. The path ahead was clear and bright. Come on, Florence said, squeezing her sister's hand, and Amanda's waiting for us. They walked together toward the research center where their aunt was visible in the doorway. Behind them, unseen, their footprints remained undisturbed in the soft earth soil. No storm to erase their passage, no cold to threaten their existence, just the promise of tomorrow and all the tomorrows after. 6 months later, a message arrived from the specialized treatment facility where Jill had been transferred. The doctors reported significant progress. Medication had stabilized his condition. Therapy had helped him process the trauma of his wife's death, and he was beginning to rebuild his scientific career under careful supervision. Attached Clear's throat to the clinical report was a personal message, which Amanda shared with the girls one evening. After dinner, my dearest Florence and Dina, she read, her voice gentle, the doctors tell me you are thriving on Earth with your aunt, which brings me more joy than I can express. I think of you every day and work hard to get better, not just for myself, but for you. I want to be the father you deserve. Father I was before illness took me away from myself. Dina leaned against Florence, listening intently. Amanda continued, I've enclosed something for each of you. For Dina, a crystal I found in the rehabilitation garden. It reminds me of the ice formations we used to admire outside our habitat. Window, and for Florence, your mother's research journal. The doctors think it's important that I let go of the past to build a healthier future, and these pages belong with you, not me. Your mother's work was important, but never as important as you both were to us. I hope someday you'll read her words and understand the brilliant woman she was. Amanda paused, her eyes meeting Florence's across the table. He's included the journal in a separate package. Would you like to see it now or wait until you're ready? Florence considered this. I think I'd like to wait just a little longer. Amanda nodded understandingly. Whenever you're ready, it will be here. She finished reading the letter. With love and hope for our future, your dad. That night, after Dina had fallen asleep, Florence sat by her open window, feeling the warm earth breeze against her face. She held the compass horizon, given her pressing the button to illuminate the needle that pointed toward distant Tarnell. The planet was invisible to the naked eye from Earth, but knowing its direction gave her comfort. From her pocket she withdrew a small, worn photograph, her mother's snorts, father, Dina, and herself standing together outside their research habitat, all bundled in thermal gear, but smiling. It had been taken before her mother's accident, before everything changed. She traced their faces with her finger, remembering the pain was still there, but it had transformed into something different. Not a sharp, constant ache, but a softer awareness of absence that existed alongside new happiness. Her father was getting better, Dina was thriving, and she herself was learning slowly to be a child again rather than just a protector. Somewhere across the galaxy, on a distant frozen world, an abandoned medical station stood silent witness to their survival against impossible odds. And in a specialized facility on a colony world, a troubled man continued the long journey back to himself, his medical file marked with one critical notation: father of Florence and Dina. Treatment priority high, family reunification goal. The universe was vast and often harsh, but within it connections remained. Bonds forged in the coldest environments proved the strongest of all.